Welcome to another reading recap. This is the April reading recap. I'm a little late, so let's just get it done really quick. It's been a lot. It's looking like I read 7 books in April, which is actually really good. Some of them are really short, so I don't know how to count that, but I'm proud of that. And I started a whole bunch more books, like maybe 4 or 5, and I didn't finish them, so we're gonna see even what I include in the honorable mentions later. But 7 books is pretty freaking good, and I'm pretty proud of that. So the first book I read is The Little Liar by Mitch Albom, but it's basically a historical fiction set in the Holocaust period, and it's told by the narrator Truth, which I think is such an interesting concept, and I did not expect that going into the book, so that was a really fun surprise. And then even at the end of the book, you get this little plot twist with that narrator. I love this story. I've been recommending it to a lot of people already. Historical fiction is initially what I started getting into reading with, like when I was a child. So it's always fun to go back to that. I know people think that's a little bit boring and they prefer literary fiction or fantasy, like something really out of this world. But historical fiction, I just love. It's just something I can wrap my mind around, something that I feel like I am getting a true look at a person or a place or a time period. And I really, really enjoyed this book. I know Mitch Albom is famous for Tuesdays with Morrie. I've heard about it, but I have never read it. I've never actually read anything by Albom before. And I definitely want to go back and look at some of the other books he's authored and definitely read more of them. He has a really interesting, fun, easy to read style. And he introduced some great characters. That I also love that about this book. You follow multiple character stories, but they are intertwined. Because I am getting a little bit sick of the POV books where nobody's timelines interact with each other. Actually, I'm starting to read The Two Towers of Lord of the Rings, second book in that series. And something I noticed as I read that book is that the timelines cross over. So you might be in another character's point of view, but you actually see the same situation from their eyes. So whereas something like maybe The Guest List, I don't know, pick a POV book, I feel like they kind of all run on their own track and they're living their own story and you get to see that through their eyes, but you don't always get to be like, oh, here's that situation from this vantage point and here's that same situation from this other point of view. So I really like that about The Two Towers as well, is you kind of like jump back in time and like hear how that character experienced something. And that happens a little bit in this book as well, where like the timelines aren't completely separate, which I really appreciate. And I think there's definitely going to be a character in this book that you will enjoy. Go check it out. American Dirt by Janine Cummins. This book was so good. I've also recommended this to people. It's a little bit of a bigger book, so don't be afraid. But it's about the cartel and immigration, Mexico, the US, but also about love and family and death and grief and moving on and like the bonds that get you through those scenarios. And it is such a heartbreaking story, but it like I had so much anticipation reading this. Like I was so excited to come back to it every single time. Um you follow a mother and her son. Her husband was killed by the cartel. She's trying to make her escape with her son to the US, and it is just all ups and downs through that and encountering different members of gangs, and it's scary. It's intense. And I just thought it was such a great book. Genuinely, I loved it. I didn't know what to expect. This isn't something I would usually go for, I feel like, but it kind of is in like the historical like fiction realm almost, but it's like current. Yeah, and I just found it so thought provoking, and like it made me realize how far you would go for the people that you love. Like what would you really give up for the people that you love, and where will that take you? So freaking good. Go read it. Oh, and I gave it 4 stars, by the way. I have to say, I'm like out of practice. I don't know why I'm doing this. 4 stars for that book. The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I'm surprised this is written by a man, actually. I feel like it kind of gives off female author vibes. But this book was kind of underwhelming. I'm not really left thinking about it too much. Once I got the point, maybe a third of the way in, it kind of is just like overly repetitive to me. Like there's no real plot switch up. You just relive the same cycle. It's tragic in a way. This girl wants to die. And before she dies, before she commits suicide, she's given this opportunity to like relive other alter versions of her life through the Midnight Library, where you can pick a book and dive into that story and live that out. So she does that, and the whole point is like find something to live for, but then nothing to live for is really ever enough. You have to have that within yourself. So once you pick that up, it just gets repetitive, and I got sick of hearing more and more alter stories of her like life and her love life and her career. Like I just got really bored of it. I gave it 3 stars because I do like the story. It was good. It was well written, but boring. Boring after you pick up the point. When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. I gave this book 5 stars simply because I feel bad rating it anything less than because he actually passed away before the book could be published. So he lives out his life. He's a doctor. He's saving people's lives. And then he gets sick and he actually dies. So throughout that timeline of becoming a doctor, doing residency, but then also getting like literally deathly ill and dying, he kind of writes about life and death and exploring that as a doctor, but also as a patient and getting both perspectives on it. It is so fascinating. It's very emotional. Like, I was almost crying at the end of it, but I did not cry. I try not to cry while reading books. I don't know why. I've just only cried like a few times reading books, and the first book to actually make me cry was Damnation Spring, by Ash Davidson. One of my favorite books of all times. It's boring if you're not like into environmental stuff, but it made me cry. Sob, actually. So this one, internally I wanted to cry, because it truly is heartbreaking and tragic. It's a fantastic book. It is such a good exploration of all of these like thoughts about death and processing life, like right while you're at the end of it. I think it's so interesting to have that experience because not everybody gets to know that they're going to die. Not everybody even gets the chance to reflect on their life. We put that off so long that for such a young guy, I think he was like in his 30s, to be going through that and like, do I have a child? Do I still get married? Like, do I save my marriage? Do I just, what is there to live for? I think it also was really interesting to read this after the Midnight Library because it's a real version of that, like the Midnight Library is so fictionalized and romanticized, but then to see somebody actually make those decisions of like, how do I live my life now that I know I'm gonna die? Do I continue on acting like I might have 10 years left, or do I do plan B, assuming I have 6 months left to live? It's like all of his choices of what do I do, and his doctor won't really give him a timeline on how long he has to live. So I mean, honestly, I would give it like 4 stars. I don't think it's worthy of 5 stars in my opinion, but because of the emotionalness and the fact that I feel bad giving someone 3 or 4 stars because they passed away, it's getting 5 stars for me. I think everyone should read it. I don't think it's going to be like the best book you've ever read, but it is, I think, a really good story and a good voice that we should listen to and use it as like a starting point for some discussions and thought processes. I love that it's so transparent too. Like, he knew that it was going to get published, but it feels like he's really writing it for himself more than he's writing it for like a presentation and a show and making it all pretty to give to us. It's like he wrote this because he needed to, and that really comes through in the writing, and I just love that about it. All right, I started Dune, read like 130 pages of Dune. Pretty freaking great. Absolutely love it. I got to get back into that. So honorable mention number 1. Honorable mention 2, I'm not going to say what it is. I'm reading a book about like debating these two, not even religions, but same religion, 2 different veins of the religion. Started the Buffalo Hunter Hunter. All right, let me actually do a little review on this one because I read some Goodreads reviews and they were like raving, favorite book ever, 5 stars, fantastic. And then like so many 1-star reviews of like 0. Didn't finish, hate it, so confusing. And I was like cruising 100 pages in and I'm like, I got this. And then I like Googled it and I realized that it's using all these indigenous words for animals and stuff, and I like was totally making up my own picture of what I thought it was talking about. I thought they were talking about different tribes, but no, they're actually talking about like an antelope or something, and I was like, oh shoot, I've messed up, like I've made a mistake here and I'm picturing a completely different story in my mind. So Honestly, I like the book. It seems fantastic so far. I want to finish it, but I think I need to kind of like reframe my mindset because kept screenshotting Reddit reviews of this with like different vocabulary words. And as I was reading, I would like go back to it and be like, what was that again? Am I picturing the right thing? So I was kind of in La La Land, just enjoying it. I was listening to it. So that makes a difference. I was just in La La Land enjoying my book before I realized that I was actually like missing key points. But I mean, so far so good, you know? All Systems Red, The Murder Bot Diaries, number one, by Martha Wells. What the heck is this book, guys? I just put this in just as literal entertainment while I worked. I was like, this is gonna be the equivalent of like watching a show as I work. So, audiobooked it. It was terrible. I hated it. Nothing is interesting about this story to me. Didn't like the characters, didn't like the setting, didn't like the plot, didn't like the writing. Um, 0 stars. Like, truly, waste of my life. It was like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. It was really short. And I was like, what am I even doing with myself listening to this? So don't read it. Oh, I actually gave it 2 stars. Sorry, I was being a little too harsh on it. Let me read you my review because I kind of don't even remember. Blah. I only put it on to listen to quick while working. Nothing stood out to me, not interested in the plot or characters at all. That emoji. I expected more moral dilemmas. Oh, yeah, yeah. And for it to be a thought provoking idea. At best, it's just where do you draw the line between man and machine? So I actually remember talking about that in philosophy class in college. And my professor was trying to convince us that there like is no difference between a human and a robot. And I was like, you're stupid. It's called blood. It's called being alive. So I thought it was going to be like an interesting dilemma. I like difficult questions, gray area type of questions. And I thought this was going to kind of explore that. But the sentience of the robot was not compelling to me. And I didn't like the robot. This is stupid, but Big Hero 6 is a fantastic movie that I love, and if if you're watching this and you're the person I've told that I hate animated movies to, don't hate on me. I do not like animated movies, but Big Hero 6 is my exception to that. I think it's so amazing. I remember being a kid watching that and it was like making me cry when they were running out of the building. And that type of like robot creature thing that is so lovable, like it needs to be at that level for me to find this to be a compelling story. Cuz this robot was just had like a human face and people were like, "Oh no, like that robot is kind of like human. Should we feel bad for him?" And I'm like, "No, we shouldn't actually. He's just a machine. Like we don't have to care." So, 2 stars, I don't know. I like it. It went in one ear and out the other. Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I read Normal People in March, and I am reading more Sally Rooney books this year. So I don't know if I'm going to read all of them. I do really like her style. I love her character building, and I can definitely see normal people like in between the lines of this book. This one was written before Normal People, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, I can just see like how her mind works. I can see like some of the main topics that she likes to focus on, but morally awful characters. Like these characters are so unlikable. They are, I don't want to say they're terrible people, but they don't have morals, okay? And even in the book there's a quote. She's like, "Oh, don't be moralistic about it." And that is pretty much how this book just goes on. Like, don't have morals. Don't try to say anything is wrong. Just do what you want to do. Screw up everybody's life around you. Be all egotistical. Woe is me. It's like that. But this book, in comparison to the other books that I thought would maybe be more compelling, this book actually, every time I put it down, I was like, huh. I just had a new dilemma, a new question, some gray area to kind of like work through and chew on. That's what I love about this. So I don't think she was just writing awful characters just to write them. Theo from The Goldfinch, I hated. If you ever read that book, I think he's just awful. And yes, he's a byproduct of his environment and his circumstances, and I don't want to get into it. But this one, I know she just had so much more room to make them even worse, and she didn't. So I can see the restraint that she used in writing these characters. So I really believe that, like, she is intentional about how she writes the story to be compelling and thought provoking, and not just to push these ideas of like we should just be doing whatever we want, or like we should be able to just destroy people's lives. Like I don't think this is a I wish the world was like this type of story. I think she's like, people are like this. Let's write about it. Let's talk about it. And it's kind of entertaining to do that anyway. I think I was giving it in my mind like a 3.8 ish, like just shy of 4, because it felt, in comparison to how I've rated other books, it kind of felt like it was in the 3 in between 4 category, but whatever. Goodreads doesn't have partial stars. I'm not going to complain about it. I feel like the plot really travels in this book. When I think back of where it started to where it ends, I feel like we really cover a lot of ground and character growth and emotional growth and story movement in that time. I don't love when books feel like stagnant, like you just kind of stay in the same place, or like a character story is just going to be focused in this area. I feel like we really moved. This book was moving. Hey everybody, it's Lizzie from the future. I forgot to review The Summer I Turned Pretty in my haste. So I don't usually read YA, so I didn't love it, but I think for what it is, it's good. So I'm not going to say it's a bad book, but I gave it 3 stars. I'm not going to read the rest of the series. Kind of like ironic and funny to me in like a this is stupid kind of way, but that's just because I don't like YA. So I'm kind of an old lady at heart, I feel like. So not my genre. Didn't expect it to be, but yeah. All right, is that it? I think that's it. I kind of did my honorable mentions. I am still working through Prodigal Summer. I'm sorry, but I am. I'm almost done with my 25 books this year. I think I'm at 21-ish. But I'm really happy with that because I just wanted to read 25 books in 2025. And the fact that I'm almost done before even half the year is over is amazing. Trying to be on track for 52 books this year, but I'm not going to speak too boldly on that because I don't want to hold myself to that, even though I am trying really, really hard. That's why I'm picking up these smaller books, but also I don't think there's any shame in that because it's giving me more of a reading habit, and it's like finally becoming second nature to pick up a book instead of my phone. And I say that as my screen time is up like 20% this week, but it's fine. I got these 2 books here. These are my new ones that I'm going to work on. The Sun Also Rises. This is a banned book. I found myself in this gorgeous little bookstore that me and my friend found. And I was like, oh my gosh, all these books that I want to read and I have read and my favorite book. And then after 2 minutes of looking at the shelf in like more excitement than I'd seen the entire bookstore, I noticed the sign that's like banned books. And I was like, oh dang, really? That's my go-to. That's my shelf right there, banned books. And then the counter was right behind the shelf, and the guy was like talking to me, and he was like suggesting The Sun Also Rises, and I was like, yes, people have told me to read this already. I was with my friend, and I was like, oh my gosh, have you read Lolita? She's not a big reader. And I was like, I turned to her and I kind of whispered, I was like, it's about like a 12-year-old girl and this man, and I just gave her like a 3-sentence synopsis in kind of like a hushed tone so that no one else hears. And then I turned back to like the shelf and the guy behind the counter, and he's like looking at us, and my friend was like, oh, because she's not a reader. She's not into that stuff, so no way she's going to pick up that book. She was like aghast to even hear that has been written. And then the guy behind the counter was like, it's really compelling. You should probably read it. And I was like, I recently read a review that was like, you're going to want to pick this book up, and every time you do, you're going to want to chuck it across the room, but you're going to crawl back to it every single time. And he was like, honestly, that is such a good review for that book. So I'm not feeling like I need to read that one. But anyway, Where Angels Fear to Tread. I forget. I think I heard this on like one of my booktuber, one of my booktube people that I follow recommended it. So I got it. These 2 are this week's reading. Gotta finish freaking Prodigal Summer. Now I'm yapping. The video's getting long. Have a good day. Pick up a book. Happy to chat. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!